So what's going on in Spring, Texas? Well, in this video, I want to take a little bit of a step back. I want to have a look at a map, and I want to show you just where everything is in Spring, Texas. Where are the roads? How do you get around? Where's the shopping? Where's the restaurants? Where are the hospitals if you need one of those? All of the things that you need to know that you don't really see in a video normally about Spring, Texas. And then at the end, let's take a look at some of the new home developments that are out there. Let's take a look at what homes are actually priced for right now on the market in Spring. So if you are looking at making a move to Spring, Texas, or if you just want to get some information about the place, you're going to want to stick around. We got great information for you. If this is your first time visiting the channel, and if you want to know everything there is about living in Houston, Texas, and Houston's best real estate, then subscribe below and tap the bell. That way you'll be among the first to know about the current market and Houston's best real estate. By the way, my name is Michael Hughes. I'm a Texas real estate broker and a Texas real estate attorney of more than 20 years. And along with my wife and business partner, Carol Hughes, we help folks just like you buy and sell Houston's best real estate. Okay, so as we begin looking at Spring, let's start by taking a look at where Spring is located in the Houston metro area. What's its proximity to some other places? So we're going to have a look. First, Spring is right up here, north central Harris County. This is unincorporated property. As we said once before, Spring is actually a census designated place. It's not an actual incorporated city. So all of the area that we consider Spring is unincorporated land in the north part of Harris County. So let's take a look at the different zip codes that comprise Spring. Now, if we just look at the census designated place, okay, this is the north side of Houston. Here's downtown, way down here. And these are all Houston zip codes. Okay, well, let's zoom in a little bit on Spring and get a better feel for what we're dealing with here. Now, if we just look at the census designated place, then we are looking at 77373, and that is Spring proper. But as we mentioned in another video, the U.S. Post Office decided that a lot of this unincorporated property was going to have a mailing address that said Spring, Texas. And so in the minds of many, many people, there is a lot more land that's included in Spring, Texas than just this. So here we're talking about all of this. This is all considered Spring in the minds of most folks. So it straddles I-45, which runs right up the middle here. And over here, we've got Spring proper. This 77386, also Spring. Here in 379388, this is the Klein area. We'll talk about that. Now, these are all the zip codes that are actually Spring, but there are 3 additional zip codes that have a Spring mailing address. And those are actually the ones that are considered the Woodlands. So once again, all of this unincorporated land got a Spring mailing address. And in the case of the Woodlands, 50 years ago, the Woodlands folks came along and created a township that laid over the top of Spring, Conroe, Tomball, and parts of Magnolia. And so for the Spring part, 77380, 81, and 82, these are all the Woodlands, but they have a mailing address that you can write either as Spring, Texas, whatever the zip code, or the Woodlands, Texas, whatever the zip code, and the post office recognizes either one. If you want to look at some travel distances, we'll start here at Spring, and I'm just going to do a really bad job of outlining Spring for you here. In order to understand how to get around and travel distances and all that sort of stuff, first we got to take a quick step back and have a look at the roads in Houston and how do you get around here in town. So let's zoom out a little bit. The major east-west interstate in Houston is I-10, and that's this road here. You continue on right over here. This is Port Arthur, which at that point you're in Louisiana. Going from Houston east to Lake Charles, this is about a 2-hour trip by the highway. I-10 going west this way will get you to San Antonio in about 3 hours. Or if you want to continue on, you can get to El Paso if you want to be in the car for about 11 hours to El Paso. The primary north-south interstate in Houston is I-45. So I-45 from Houston heading south runs down this way, and it's going to take you to Galveston. And that's where it ends, of course, because it's water past that. I-45 going north out of Houston runs along this path right here. And if you continue about 3.5 hours, I guess, you're going to get to Dallas, depending on how you drive, 3.5 to 4 hours. So another major freeway coming out of Houston is this one right here. This is either I-69. It's also called US 59. I cannot write with a mouse. Sorry. And if you continue that up to the northeast, eventually you'll find yourself in Texarkana. And that little trip will take you about 5 hours to get to the northeast corner of the state, about 5 hours to do that. If you take I-69 south and go through downtown, it becomes US 59, and you continue on that way. That will get you to Corpus Christi, and that particular trip, again, is about 3 to 3.5 hours, depending on how you drive. Another highway that's not part of the main interstate system, but it is a federal highway, is here, US 290. Other than the HOV lanes, this is not a toll road, at least not in Houston. That will take you to Austin, and that particular trip, roughly 3 hours to get to Austin. Once you get into Austin, 290 does have sections that are toll, so you'll have to deal with that. So those are, oh, one more, US 90 coming out this way to the east. That gets you to Beaumont, and then further on you can get down to I-10 and continue on into Louisiana. But this one will get you to Beaumont on the Louisiana border. So here are the primary non-toll highways and interstates that are centered around downtown Houston. So using spring as a starting point, let's take a look at some travel times, how long it's going to take to get to other towns in the Houston area, other parts of Houston. So for example, if we want to go from Spring down to downtown Houston, then you're looking at a travel time somewhere between 35 to 40 minutes. Again, this is all dependent on traffic, but let's say on average 35 to 40 minutes to get from Spring to downtown Houston. On the other hand, if you want to go from Spring up into the Woodlands right here, then according to Google Maps, that trip is going to take you about 20 minutes. Much shorter distance, much greater traffic going through the Woodlands. If you want to go from Spring to Conroe up here, you're looking at about 35 minutes. Spring over to Tomball right here. This trip is going to be about a 30 to 35 minute trip. Spring down to Cypress right in here. Sorry about the drawing. Will take you on average, let's say 40 to 45 minutes. If you want to go to Katy, go shopping down at Katy Mills. You're going to drive all the way out here, and that trip, Google tells us, will take you about 1 hour. Oops. 60 minutes, 1 hour. On the other hand, if you want to go over to the other side of town, you want to get over here to Kingwood from Spring, you can expect to be in the car for anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes, again, depending on traffic. And then if you want to go a little bit south, we're going to have to move the map here a little bit and zoom out. But if you wanted to go to League City, which is in Galveston County, great little town. I used to live there. Right about here. Then you're going to be in the car about an hour to an hour and a half. And if you want to spend the day at the beach in Galveston, you're going to be going down I-45. And that trip is going to take you anywhere from 1.5 to 2 hours from Spring. So depending on where you're going in Houston, it can be anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. As the old saying goes, you know, every part of Houston is a minimum of 1 hour from every other part of Houston. But I usually say 2. If you want to go from one end of Houston to the other end of Houston, you're probably looking at a 2-hour trip. Now, having said that, there are freeways in Houston, but there are a lot of tollways in Houston. And if you're moving to Houston from another state, different part of the country, you might be shocked at the number of toll roads. Toll roads are a big thing in Texas and especially around Houston. And so I want to show you what the toll road system looks like in Spring so that you can get a feel on how to navigate these things. So here's downtown Houston down here. All of these these colored lines here are different toll roads. So these ones branching out here, this is I-45 we're looking at. I-45 is not a toll road, but it has HOV lanes that sometimes are toll lanes. On the other hand, the purple, this is Beltway 8, also called State Highway 8, also called the Sam Houston Tollway. So we've got I-610 here. We call that the inner loop. We've got the Beltway here, or Beltway 8, which is a toll road. The outer one, this is State Highway 99, also called the Grand Parkway. This is an incomplete loop, but as it sits right now, if you start at one end of the Grand Parkway and you drive all the way around to the end, by the time you get there, you will have driven 180 miles around Houston. It is an absolutely huge loop around Houston. So that's another toll road. This one up here, this is State Highway 249, also called the Tomball Tollway because it runs through Tomball. And then the one going down here, this is the Hardy Toll Road. This one starts right in Spring, it runs parallel to I-45. It also branches off and takes us over here, which is the Bush Intercontinental Airport. We'll talk about the location of the airport here in just a minute. But part of the toll road does branch off and runs right into Bush Airport. And the reason I'm talking about toll roads is that if you're not accustomed to having to navigate toll roads, the tolls will add up. And if you have to do a lot of driving for your job or for whatever reason, you're going to have to keep track of the tolls, because that becomes a monthly expense that you're going to have to account for in your budgeting. Well, let's talk now a little bit about major medical facilities and what's going on in spring when it comes to hospitals. That's often on everyone's mind. So, serving the entire Houston area, there are several major medical systems, each one of them operating several different hospitals and medical campuses. Some of these campuses will have several facilities all clustered together in one location. So, for example, the Memorial Hermann system operates these campuses here. So, primarily in the central and southwest parts of town. If we want to look at the HCA Houston system, they operate facilities kind of all around Houston, but primarily within the Grand Parkway. There is an HCA facility up in Conroe. Not really sure why it's not showing on here, but most of their facilities are going to be within the Grand Parkway. Houston Methodist, much more centralized. Most of their stuff is downtown. They do have a couple of satellite campuses here and there. CHI St. Luke's. This one has a much bigger presence up here in Spring, Texas. There's also one over here in the Klein area. This is a village hospital in Klein. They also have a heavy presence downtown in the so-called medical center, where a lot of medical facilities are clustered. MD Anderson is down there right here in the central part. But they also have satellite campuses over on the west and the east side of southwest, southeast side of town as well. And then finally, Texas Children's operates several campuses, again, here in the central part, around the medical center, out here on the west. And then up here is one that is north of the Woodlands, almost up into Conroe, but that is going to be the one that's closest to the Spring, Texas area. It's going to be this children's hospital facility up in, well, this says it's in the Woodlands. It's a little bit north of the Woodlands. Okay, well, how about airports? You want to travel, you want to get in and out of town. Where are the airports around town? And I was actually shocked at how many airports there are serving the Houston area. There are two major ones, and we'll talk about those, but there are a ton of these little executive airports, like Houston Executive Airport. Up here in Tomball, there's the David Wayne Hooks Memorial. Over here, Baytown Airport. Interestingly, down, that's Pearland Regional. There it is. Ellington Airport right here. This is a half civilian, half military airport. This is close to the Johnson Space Center, to NASA. And so you'll often see military planes flying out of Ellington. And this is where astronauts do some aircraft training and certification, all kinds of stuff. So you'll see some interesting planes flying in and out of Ellington Field down south in the Clear Lake area. But, okay, where are the major ones? Well, down here, this is Houston Hobby Airport, the William P. Hobby Airport. This is one of the two major international airports in Houston. This is the hub for Southwest Airlines. So if you're a big Southwest Airlines fan, you'll be flying in and out of Hobby primarily. If you're up here in the Spring area, that's kind of a haul to get down to Hobby, just so you can have your preferred carrier. If you're in Spring, you're probably going to be looking at Bush Intercontinental Airport. This is the largest airport in the Houston area. It is truly massive. And this is where United Airlines has its hub. Every domestic carrier, except Southwest, flies out of Bush Intercontinental, and also all sorts of international flights. So British Airways, Emirates, all of those fly out of Bush Intercontinental as well. When it comes to schools in Spring, Texas, let's take a look at where those are located. We're going to take a look at the high schools. And there are, as we mentioned in another video, 5 high schools serving the Spring, Texas area. Down here, we've got Spring High School right here off of I-45. This is the Klein area right here. So this southernmost high school is Klein High School. Right here, we've got Klein Oak High School, a very good school. And then up here, we have the 2 high schools that are servicing the Woodlands, also handling some folks in Spring. So we have the Woodlands High School and we have the Woodlands College Park High School. If you want to talk about shopping, the major shopping centers in Houston, of course, this shows, the whole town. So we've got a whole bunch of malls. Now, this is not individual shopping centers. This is not individual stores. These are the major shopping centers or the major shopping malls. The biggest one being this guy right here. This is the Houston Galleria. This is where there is a gigantic shopping mall, and they have everything there. It's high-end shopping, so you're going to find, Saks Fifth Avenue, all of the New York type stores, and then up towards Spring, we've got some choices up here. So again, Spring being right in here, and all of this area, Klein up in here, all of this. So you can run up to the Woodlands. This is the Woodlands Mall. This is the Woodlands Market Street, which is not an actual shopping mall, but it is a shopping center. So a lot of high-end stores are going to be there as well. Gucci, Tiffany's, all of that. Market Street is a really great area. There's restaurants, there's shopping, there's a huge play area for kids. We'll talk about that more in the Woodlands video, but that is one of the major shopping attractions around the Woodlands area that is within easy access to Spring. Down here is Willowbrook Mall, another large shopping mall facility. So if you are in the Klein area, this is probably going to be your go-to. And then I point out another one up here on the north side of town. It's on the eastern side of town, and this is Deerbrook Mall. Let's take a look at some of the attractions that are in Spring, Texas. Okay, we've talked about medical, we've talked about airports, we've talked about shopping malls, we've talked about schools. Let's talk about some of the fun stuff. What is going on in Spring, Texas? Well, let's have a look at some of these. Of course, we've got Old Town Spring, which if you watched our video on Spring, Texas, we did a little tour of Old Town. Great little area, historic. This is where the original train depot was that gave Spring its start. A lot of history there. And the shop owners have really made it a point to make this an eclectic, fun area with shopping, restaurants, just fun things to do. Over here, Splashdown Hurricane Harbor. If you love water parks, this is the place to go. And kids are going to love it. All kinds of rides and attractions, water slides, wave parks, all kinds of things going on at Hurricane Harbor. It's only open during the summer, of course, so right about the time that school starts, Hurricane Harbor starts to wind down, and then it'll open back up in the spring. Over here, just south of 99, this is the TGR Exotics Wildlife Park. If you want to go and get up close with some exotic wildlife, it's interesting that we've got an exotic wildlife park right in the middle of Spring, Texas. That's pretty cool. Wild Stallion Vineyards is up here, so pretty close to the Woodlands up here. Augusta Pines is in the Woodlands. There's a really great golf club right up here in Augusta Pines. But yeah, there's a vineyard right there. So if you want to go and talk with the people who actually make the wine, make the goodness, and they have tastings, all kinds of fun stuff going on there. And then another winery up here, Gadella Winery. This one is up in the Woodlands, but not very far from Spring at all. One thing to remember about Spring, Spring is kind of the city in the middle. When it comes to actual big ticket attractions, not a whole lot of them are actually in Spring. But Spring's location between the Woodlands and Houston and the rest of the Houston metro area on the north side put it in a really great spot. You've got a great location to have access to all of these things without having to drive all the way across the city. Some of the things that you might want to check out. For instance, professional sports teams. Houston's got a few of them. The stadiums for them are all downtown, except for the Texans Stadium, which is a little bit southwest of downtown. But this area in downtown Houston, we call that the Stadium District, because you're going to find Minute Maid Park, where the Astros play. That recently has been renamed to Dyken Park as of January 2025. But for the longest time, it was known as Minute Maid Park. That's where the Houston Astros play. And then here is Shell Energy Stadium. This is where the Houston Dynamo and the Houston Dash play their games. That is the men's and the women's professional soccer teams in Houston. Right over here is the Toyota Center. This is where the Houston Rockets pound the court. It's also where there are a lot of major concerts come through. They all play in the Toyota Center. And then down here in the Southwest, this is NRG Stadium. This is where the Houston Texans play their football game. Let's take a look now at a few statistics from the housing market in Spring, Texas. If we want to have a look at actual closing prices over a 10-year period of time, that's what this graph is showing. So it goes from January of 2014 up through November of 2024. And if we look at what the numbers are telling us here, housing market, as you can see here, it's got its ups and downs all over the place, but the general trend is heading upward. And over the past 10 years, average home closing prices had increased in Spring, Texas by 11.5%. According to the MLS, right now, there are 1,087 active listings. Now, I filtered these to show only single-family homes and only homes that were $200,000 or greater. If we scroll in, we can see that these resale listings are pretty evenly split between the western side of I-45 and the eastern side of I-45. As we zoom in, we get a little bit more detail on them. Let's start over here on the west side. And so as we jump in, you can see the homes are pretty evenly split, distributed when it comes to, where are the homes for sale, but all kinds of different price points going on. So over here in the Glenlock Forest area, Glen Haven Estates, you can find homes right over here. These are all 7-figure homes. This one's 1.899. You wanted to have a look at what 1.9 million will buy you in Spring, Texas. Well, here you go. Gorgeous house. Of course, I would expect it to be for 1.9 million, right? So you'll find a lot of those clustered right in around this area. Interesting thing about Spring, Texas, Houston, Texas in general, Houston has no zoning. So a lot of times what you're going to find is some interesting price distributions. For example, let me show you. Here we have these homes right over here, right? 1.35 million, 1.349, 2.599, so 2.6, 1.9 million. But then you just run right up the road here on Champion Forest and you're looking at 485,000, 400,000, 365, 355. Over here, we're back to 1.075 million, 830,000, 700. Here's one for 399, right across the street from a $700,000 house. And you'll see that, which again is just down the road from these over here, which are 1.1 million, 1.1, 1.6, and here's 680,000. A lot of times what you'll see is rather than having zoning, they will rely on deed restrictions. They'll rely a lot on gated communities and things of that nature to do what the zoning ordinances otherwise would have done. And that's why it's important that you have an experienced real estate agent that can help you navigate through a lot of these issues because, some folks might not want, have such a mix of value. Others might be fine with it. So it just depends on what your preferences are and, the area of town where you're wanting to be. So here's one, $499,900. This is still a really great looking house. $500,000 house. This one has a pool, beautiful pool. And then as we head to the east in Spring, sorry. For instance, here's one at $375,000. Older looking house, but it's on a large plot of land. So all kinds of things you can find. And again, this is where an experienced real estate agent is going to be invaluable. So we go from $365,000 over here to $325,000, $325,000, $260,000, $279,000. And then we jump over to the east side of 45. And you'll see a lot of the same thing. You're going to see some wild price variations. So here's a good example. Here's a $2.1 million house. Really nice detached garage, porte cochere. Looking really good. So here's the 2.1, here's an 800, here's a $229,000 house right next to the $2.1 million house. So if you're buying a $2 million house, one of the things you just want to be careful of and make sure that you're okay with having neighbors that are not, $200 or $2 million homes, that the home is worth 10 times less than what your particular home is. And again, this is where your agent is going to prove invaluable to you. Nothing wrong with this house at all. It's just in a different category than the one that we looked at before. So a lot of variation in different price ranges. And then jump out a little further, coming over here to what's called Burnham Woods. And you're into a little bit more of the affluent, higher priced kinds of houses. Here's one at $635,000. You get a feel for what's going on in the housing market in Spring, Texas. Plenty to choose from. Over 1,087 active listings right now all across the Spring area. And then there's also new home communities if you want to go the route of new construction, whether you want to take a look at what the builder has in inventory, or if you want to pick out the lot and build it from the dirt up, then we can certainly help you negotiate that process as well. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us on this video about Spring, Texas. I hope it's been helpful information for you, help you get a better feel of where Spring is in relation to every place else in Houston and what's going on in terms of attractions, shopping, schools, and we took a look at the housing market to get an idea of how many homes are available right now, where are the new construction communities, and how are the homes sort of distributed out over Spring, Texas. Whether you are planning your move to Spring, Texas next week, next month, or even next year, Carol and I would love to help make your move to this area smooth and worry-free. So tap on the link below to set up a free, no-hassle Zoom consultation, or, of course, you can give us a call, send us a text, or send us an email. We are never too busy to hear from you, and we are looking forward to helping you buy or sell Houston's best real estate.